Everyone, hello everyone. This is Lexicon coming at you with another EDH list, and this time we're going to be playing a cool commander that someone posted the other day on Facebook, and I said, "Hey, I want to try this, so let's see how it works." So our commander is Shalai and Halar. So she's Naya with 4 mana. She's got flying and vigilance, and then whenever one or more counters are put on a creature you control, Shalai and Halara deals that much damage to target opponent. So this is very cool because we have a lot of cards here that put 1/1 counters on things, double counter. That from what I'm looking at, it currently has a lot of. Let's talk about Ajani the Greatheart. So it's 4 mana. Selesnya. Creatures you control have vigilance. If you do its +1, you gain 3 life. But I think most of the time we're going to be using the -2 because it puts a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, and then a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. So this is good for our strategy because we're going to put a multitude of counters on maybe 4 or 5 creatures, and then we can use our commander's ability to hit someone for 5 damage. So let's get into the creature base. We're playing Abzan Falconer because as long as the creature has a 1/1 counter on it, it has flying, and you could outlast for one to put a 1/1 counter on this, and this one will gain flying as well. Arwen is here because whenever each other creature we control ETBs with a number of additional 1/1 counters to it equal to the toughness of Arwen. So if we can get some counters on Arwen, our creature is going to come out with multiple 1/1 counters on them, and this works well with Commander. We have Botanical Brawler. It's a 2 mana spell with Trample. It ETBs with 2 counters, so this will trigger the Commander as well. And then whenever one or more counters are put on another permanent, if it's the first time, you can put a 1/1 counter on Botanical Brawler, which will trigger our commander as well. Champion Lambhole is here because if we can load her up with a bunch of counters, our creatures would not be able to block if they have power less than this creature. Conclave Mentor is to double 1/1 counters. Sky Con because of its backup ability, since we could back up either 1, 2, or 3 creatures, it's going to gain trample. And then whenever those creatures deal combat damage, they put that many 1/1 counters on them. We have Dustly Duelist to draw us cards. Evolution Sage is hidden here to proliferate whenever we play a land. This card is good because Forgotten Ancient, because whenever a player casts a spell, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then at the beginning of our upkeep, we can move our counters to any number of creatures in the way that we want. I like the Unicorn as well because whenever another creature enters the battlefield under our control, we put a 1/1 counter on that creature. For non-human creatures to enter with an additional 1/1 counter. Grise Surge because whenever another creature ETBs, if it has greater power than this one, put a 1/1 counter on Dire Sage, and then you can add a number of green mana for each 1/1 counter on it itself. Halan Elena, First Strike and Reach, beginning of combat. You can move 2 1/1 counters onto another creature you control, where X is her power until the end of the turn, and it also gains haste. Haste. Incubation Druid is here, and if it has a 1/1 counter on it, we can. Kami is here for another doubling effect, and also for us to add mana based on its power. Kodama is in here to give our modified creatures trample, and if we deal combat damage with that creature, we can search for a basic land, put on a battlefield tap. So this helps us thin out our deck so we're not drawing lands. Krenko is good in here because whenever it attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on it. and then you create that many 1/1 goblins tokens with equal to its power. Land War Elf is for ramp, stars Advances Pilgrim. Mana Gorger Hydra is a 3-mana spell with trample that says whenever a player casts a spell, you put a 1/1 counter on it. So every time our opponent is playing a spell, if we have our commander out, we're pinging our opponents for 1 damage for each counter that is put on this. Machias is in here because it's an X cost where it can enter with X 1/1 counters for whatever X is. We can tap it to put a counter on it, or you can remove a counter to put a 1 counter on each other creature we control. Rishkar is in here because as the ETBs, we can put up to a 1/1 counter up to 2 targets. And then each creature we control with a counter on it has tap, add a green mana. Rosie, Cotton of the Southland from the Lord of the Rings set. When the ETBs, we make a food, and then whenever we create a token, we put a 1/1 counter on a target creature control other than this creature. Scavenging Ooze is in here to eat alive our opponent's graveyard, especially if they're doing some type of reanimation stuff. So I love Scavenging Ooze, and it can gain us a little bit of life along the way. Shalai, Voice of the Plenty. It's a flyer, and other creatures and planeswalkers we control have hexproof. And then for 2 green and 4 of any color, we can put a 1/1 counter on each creature we control. And finally, our last creature is Sigarda, Font of Blessings, which allows us to look at the top card of our library at any time, and we can cast angels and human spells from the top of our library, and other permanents we control have hexproof. So as far as sorceries go, they're all ramp and 1 draw. So Harmonize is going to draw us 3 cards. For instance, we have removal and protection. So we have Beast Within to blow up a troublesome creature. Dramoka's Command, where we can choose 2. Depending on what our situation is, we're gonna try using the ability that best suits our situation. Flawless Maneuver for protection, Generous Gift for removal, Inscription for a multitude of things, and Invigorating Surge to put a 1/1 counter onto a creature and then double it. Path of Exile for removal, Pledge of Unity for more 1/1 counters and life gain, Snakeskin Veil for a 1/1 counter and protection, and Unbreakable Formation for either indestructible, or if we cast it during our main phase, to put a 1/1 counter of all of our creatures and give them vigilance. I'm not really going to explain too many of the mana rocks, but I will talk about the Ozolith. So the Ozolith is a very good card because it's another Hardened Scales ability, and then for 2, we get another Hardened Scale ability. And for whatever reason, if we don't need this card, we can cycle it away for 2. And as far as enchantments go, we have Felidar Retreat as a landfall trigger to either generate a beast token, but most of the time we're going to be using the +1/+1 counter on each creature to give them vigilance. Hardened Scales, Hydra's Growth, Resourceful Defense, Rhythm of the Wild to either give haste or an additional counter, Tribute of the Wild Tree for counters or draw, Utopia Sprawl to fix our mana, Wild Growth to tap for more mana, and then this is the land base. So this deck is a lot more expensive than the ones I've been doing lately, but it is around $200 if you can afford that. And as far as tokens, we're making a beast, a cat beast, an elephant, a food, and a goblin. And as far as mana curve goes, we curve out around 3 mana. So it will take a while to get this deck going, but once it does, I think it's going to be very beneficial and good to you because you're going to be doing so much stuff. As far as the mana splits, most of our cards are green at 63%, 29% are plains, 8% are mountains, and 18% are colorless. So I hope you enjoyed this deck tech. It will be up on YouTube very shortly with links to the Mox Field and my social media accounts. So keep on the lookout for that, and have a great day.